One, first and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakwakadash. Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the brothers that are doing this work in true sincerity. And we're going to jump right into the lesson. This is Romans 3:1. It says, "What advantage then has a Jew? What profit is there of circumcision?" So the Jew that they're speaking about here is those Israelites that knew the law, that still maintained the law, they still practice, still maintain their heritage, they still practice the law, statutes, commandments. What profit is there of circumcision? And part of that heritage was being circumcised. And the reason that Paul is asking this because he's comparing that to the Israelite foreigners. It says, "Much every way chiefly because unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High." And the oracles are what? The sayings or the writings. They had the writings. They had the books of Moses. They had the books of the prophets, which the Apostle Paul, he preached out of those books. He preached out of those books to the Israelite foreigners, aka the Gentiles, preaching Yahweh Shai. But the thing about it is that those Israelites that knew they were Israelites, they did not receive and they did not want to believe that the message that Paul spoke of, which was the gospel, which is the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, being the salvation of Israel. And that's the same thing with our people today. 2/3 of our people, they who are bloodline Israelites, which are so-called Black Latino Native Americans, they lack the faith required for salvation. That's why 2/3 of our people, they dismiss, they mock, they scorn this truth. But that was predestined. It says, "For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of Yahweh?" Let's get that footnote. "The faithfulness of Yahweh without effect. Yahweh forbid, yea, let Yahweh be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, thou hast justified the saints, and hast overcome, and thou art judged." So that goes to show you that this Jew that is speaking about, those are those that knew they were Israelites. Those are the people that knew that they were of the heritage of the bloodline of Israel. But it wasn't given to them the required faith to believe, because the Lord was only looking at some of those Jews, as you want to call it that, or Hebrew Israelites. They believed in the message of Paul. Paul himself he said he was a sheep among Jews. Some of those did. But the Lord is only looking for a remnant, and that remnant is going to consist of the nation of Israel. 1/3 in the 144,000. That's the remnant. Let's go ahead and get Romans 9:6. Because it doesn't matter if 2/3 of our people, now you can liken that to 2/3 of our people. They are the bloodline of Israel. They don't know that they're Israel. Some of them do. But yet they still do not want to believe or take heed regardless. It says Romans 9:6, and once again this confirms the Israelites. Going to verse 4. It says, not as though the word of Yahweh was taken into effect, for they are not Israel, which are of Israel. See, so there was a remnant, there was an Israel, they're the chosen of the chosen, neither because they were the seed of Abraham were they children, but Isaac shall their seed be called, because if I recall, Ishmael was also the seed of Abraham, which is today the modern descendants of the Arabs. They call the Ishmaelites what they call the Arabs. So not everyone can claim faith to this truth. It is only for a small remnant of people. Because that's contrary to Christianity that preaches salvation is for everybody. You know, and the thing about it, salvation is not for everybody. Ultimately, salvation will be to all the nation of Israel, but concerning salvation from America, salvation from Babylon by means of the chariots, being beaten up to the chariots, and being risen up by the Lord in that day, whether they met their fate had a physical death, that salvation is only reserved for the remnant, the small number as compared to the sands of the sea of Israel. You know, the majority of them are going to die here in America. And it might make it seem that the Lord says cast away his people. That's why it says Romans 11:1. I say then, has Yahweh cast away his people? Yahweh forbid, for I am an Israelite, the seed of Abraham, the tribe of Benjamin. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Yahweh has not cast away his people, for which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scriptures say to lies, how he makes innocent to Yahweh against Israel, saying, Lord, they killed their prophets and digged down their altars and left alone and they seek my life. Now Elijah himself, says Elijah, you know, he was like, yeah, go ahead. Man, these people, he prayed against Israel, like for their downfall. He said, but what says to answer Yahweh unto him? I reserve myself 7,000 men, and 7,007 just like a number of completion. I will not bow the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time also, there's a remnant according to the election of grace. So for it doesn't matter if two-thirds of our people are not going to believe and return, you know, or return to their heritage. Or they might acknowledge it, but when it comes time to do those things necessary to prove their faith, because faith without works is dead, then they don't want to do that. They were just given the message so they can know that they're Israelites and receive judgment. You know, Scripture talk about a small remnant saved according to salvation. And this just supposed to show you that it's only for a remnant. It's only for this truth. So we understand that there's going to be a great outpouring of scoffers and scorners and unbelievers and mockers. That's part of the program. You know, that's part of the program for us to deal with that. But but we don't let their unbelief or incredulity, you know, impede us in any way. But there's a Hebrews 4:10. There's therefore fear. There's a promise being left us of entrance rest, and we should seem to come short of it. For this is the point right here. For unto us was the gospel preached as well unto them. But the word preached should not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that hear it. So that was the key ingredient. They weren't given the gift of faith. You know, and faith comes by hearing. Let's get Romans 10:16. They heard the word, but they were given the faith to believe the word. There's a lot of people that walk by the camps and watch videos and they just see it as a novelty. Hebrews 4:2, Salah. Hebrews 4:2 is going to get Romans 10:16, Salah. Romans, over here. Romans 10:16, it says, let's see here. It said, but they have not all obeyed the gospel. For it saith, I think it's Isaiah, yeah. Saith Yahweh, who has believed our report. So faith comes by hearing, and hearing but by the word of God. But I say, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and the words into the ends of the world. So this truth has been gone out through all the earth by means of the internet. And it was going to reach and seal those who was meant and predestined to seal. But for those that don't want to take heed to it, then that's their fate as well. It's all predestinated, man. And that's one thing you always got to understand, that everything is all predestinated. This is 1 Corinthians 1 and 18. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness. So that's why the Lord gave him a spirit to scoff and scorn and mock and change up doctrines and all this, because they see the truth, the valid truth as taught by the apostle of the great millstone as foolishness. They chuckle at it. They smirk at it. They say, they take out books. They take out the importance of it. Oh, these are not writings of the Most High. Hebrews is not canon. So on and so forth, man. Just they see it as foolishness. It says, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of Yahweh. For it's written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. They try to put themselves as they're so deep and knowledgeable, and they get these secret revelations, which in actuality is just foolishness. Bring nothing to the understanding of the prudent. Because they try to prove everything by, well, prove it to me, but but they don't want to get proved to it by the Spirit. They don't go into the Hebrew, they don't go into the Greek. They want to see all this as face value as written. That's what Christianity does. The whosoever's and the John 3:16s, and they cherry pick all these scriptures without reading the context, because if you read it in context, the Gentiles, you read it in context, and you look up certain words, you understand that it's speaking always about, when it comes to salvation, that it's speaking always about Israel. Let's get 1 Thessalonians 2 and 13. It says, no, that's not what I wanted. Maybe that's 1 Timothy, no wonder. 1 Thessalonians 2 and 13. And it says, for this cause also we thank Yahweh without ceasing, because when you receive the word of Yahweh, this is the elect, the 1/3, which ye have heard of us, ye received it not as the word of men. And that's what 2/3 of our people do. They look at us and they look at what we preach. And since we look like them, and they don't want to listen to someone that they in their eyes is uneducated and unlearned, they see it as the word of man. Well, that's just their opinion. But ye have heard of us, ye receive not the word of man, but as in the truth, the word of the Most High. And when brothers came into this truth, when they first heard this truth, the Spirit, gave them the gift of faith for them to be of the mind like these men are the men of the Lord. They're preaching the true meaning of the Bible, which effectually, let's get that word, effectively worketh also in you that believe. So that's what it is. And the reason that they don't want to, they see this as the word of men, is because they don't want someone that looks like them to have the truth. Like, who's this guy? Who are you to tell me? You're no better than me. Because Jake always wants to be top dog, man. You always have these dudes coming up to the camp, and all they want to do is spew force of all the books that they read and all the knowledge they got and how they're so fucking deep. But when you really listen to them, they just all over the damn place. They just, you see that the Lord has really blinded their spirit. Let's get Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. Deuteronomy 18 and 15. It says, the Lord thy power will raise up with thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, as ye shall hearken. So it was predestined. The Lord's going to raise up prophets from among the people. But since Jake is proud, he don't want to hear it. He don't want to hear it coming from someone that he thinks that's on the same social class or educational class than him. He wants a white man to authorize everything. But since they don't want to listen, they're going to receive judgment. This is the repeating the Deuteronomy right here in Book of Acts, Acts 3:22. For most truly said to the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your power raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all the things whatever he shall say unto you. And they don't want to listen to us. They don't want to listen to. Why? Who are you to tell me this, that, the other? Who are you to say that the white man can't be saved? Who are you to tell me that I can't line up my beard or that I have to grow a beard or I gotta stop eating pork? That's the way they look at it. But nevertheless, whether they hear it for a beer, the judgment has gone out regardless. It shall come to pass that every soul which not hear the prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. They and other prophets Samuel and those that follow after, and we are Most High willing, we are those that follow after us. Many have spoken, have likewise foretold of these days. Ye are the children of the prophets, and the covenant which Yahweh made with our fathers, saying unto Abraham, "Thy seed shall all the kings of earth be blessed." We are from that bloodline. And if you go to Acts the 4th chapter, they despise the learned men. Let's get Acts 4 and 13. It says, now then when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, because they were preaching something contrary to what was out there, man. They were preaching to the Israelite foreigners, which were already dismissed as Gentiles in the eyes of so what you call the Jews, which were they're not Jews, they were the Hebrew Israelites, that still practice the law. It says, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, and that's why they don't want to listen to us, because they think that we're unlearned. Let's get that footnote. Uneducated, untrained, ignorant men, because we are rudeness in speech, because brothers stutter, because brothers, they talk rough. Brothers are rough around the edges. They look at us as like, who are these dudes? He looks stupid. Look at him with that gown on. They marveled and they took knowledge that of them that they have been with Yahushua, So even though Peter and John, they marveled at him. They stood with Yahweh, even though Peter and John were with Yahushua, they still looked at them as ignorant and unlearned, as uneducated. These dudes can't be it. That's why they look away at us. That's why they don't hear it. That's why they would receive a judgment for their unbelief. So their unbelief doesn't matter, man. We're coming to the time where the Lord is sealing the elect, and He's marking for judgment those that He deemed for death. So it doesn't bother us when someone scoffs or scorns or talks shit or gets on the comment board and just be all kinds of ignorant. It doesn't bother us. So we understand that this is only for a small remnant. But with that being said, real quick lesson, Most High Witness, edifying, that will give honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Call Halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Brothers keep on pushing. Shalom.